new that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day, folks. How are you? I hope you're pushing your way through the week. It can be a bit tiring at times, don't I know that? But I'm not doing too badly. Made the trip to Adelaide. Everything's going well. Tonight, we've got a regular who joins us on the show. Very grateful to have her and, of course, the team from Freedom Financial Solutions behind the show. Cass Smith tonight is joining us to talk about some of the things that have been going on regarding the budget in the last few weeks. Of course, changes announced to negative gearing and whatnot, what that means to you. But more particularly, there have been some significant changes announced to self-managed super funds. So who better to talk to than the lady herself? Cass, thanks for joining us tonight.
My pleasure again. Yes. It never stops, does it, Carl? Every time I think, you know, we can just sit back and everything's going fine, they just throw something else at us.
Do you think they're trying to wake people up, or do you think they're deliberately trying to pry people's eyes open to the sort of criminality that they're doing here?
No, I don't think they're that smart. You know,
No.
to put Albanese and the Greens together, they just, I don't know, maybe is it starting to become, it is just narcissistic tendencies. They think they can just do whatever they want.
And we see that in the parliament during question time, the way that, you know, not just the Prime Minister, but every minister on the government side treats with absolute disdain any question that comes from the opposition. Mind you, most of those questions are absolutely frigging useless anyway, trying to set things up for a legal challenge down the track. Wow, you know, just call them out for what they are, frigging liars. Now, Anthony Albanese, forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, but I'm led to believe that Anthony Albanese promised there would be no changes to self-managed super funds before the last election as well. Can we chalk this up as another lie?
I'd have to double check that one because I'm not sure myself. But yeah, good question. I'll take that upon what's the word? I'll take that
on
upon
question on notice.
I'll take that upon notice.
Yes.
But it wouldn't surprise me at all because he's just breaking promises left, right, and centre. There was promises as to no changes to negative gearing, promises as to no changes to capital gains, and they're throwing everything they can at us with.
So do you want to talk us through that, what it means to you know, the people that follow the show?
Yeah, which bit, the SMSF changes. So I mean, I must admit, I've been blindsided by these, flabbergasted. So I had no idea, and clients started contacting me yesterday saying, what's going on? I'm like, what do you mean what's going on? They're like, check the news. I'm like, oh, I mean, and I can't, I've been trying to rationalize it in my head. You know, they're wanting to change negative gearing. That was bad enough. So when that was in the announcement, that's bad enough. And it's already had a massive effect on the property market. But they're having trouble getting it through. So to get the negative gearing changes through, they attack SMSF borrowing. There's no correlation between the two. Like, you would think, okay, they're trying to attack negative gearing. Maybe they'll just tinker around the seams and change a few of those things to get it through. But they've just gone and done a deal that doesn't relate to negative gearing to get this through. And so, I mean, it makes no sense. Why did they just all of a sudden jump on SMSF borrowing? So let's just explain SMSF borrowing for those that aren't familiar. It's been going on for a very, very long time, probably the last 15 years, even 20 years of my corporate life was helping clients set up self-managed super funds. And back then, before COVID, people were doing it. 95% of my clients were doing it to borrow to invest in property. The reasons they would do it, many, but one reason is a lot of people didn't trust the share market and preferred to be in property. The second reason was people in their, say, mid-30s, early 40s, even in their 50s, realised they didn't have enough super to retire on. Maybe they've only got 200,000, which is not enough. So they saw someone like myself who, as a financial planner, which I was then, and a real estate agent and a mortgage broker, I could say to them, well, if you use that 200,000 and buy a property for 500,000, borrow to buy that property, and then that property doubles in value, which property has been doing that in Australia for a very long time. Then by the time you retire, you've now got $1 million in your super. You pay off that loan, you can now retire. So it was being used by the average mum and dad, the average tradie, the average business person, not the wealthy, not the elite, not the big super funds, but it was being used by the small mum and dads who just wanted to make sure they had enough for retirement, and they wanted to invest in property and borrow. That's all it was, quite simple. And then that's what they've attacked. They've just said, no, as of when this legislation gets through, gone. Super funds can no longer borrow to buy, it appears, just residential property.
Could this be being done because of the influence now and because agreements have been signed that Australians' big super now has to invest a certain amount, and I think it's in the trillions of dollars, into the US market? And Australian big super in the last few years, in no small measure to do with us, I'm sure, have seen a huge exodus of people into the SMSF market. Could this be trying to, put a bottleneck in that?
Yeah, it could be, because I've just been trying to rationalize in my head, where did this come from? It's out of the blue. It's never been mentioned in any lead up to the budget. It wasn't mentioned in the budget. It's literally come out of the blue. And I think you're right and I've been trying to think of the reason why, and I just can't think of a reason why. Other than that one that you're saying, because SMSFs are now just rapidly increasing. Well, they have been over the last 20 years. SMSFs have been becoming more and more and more and more and more popular. But since 2020, just more and more people have just absolutely had enough and want their super out of corporate super. Yeah.
And
then the Australian government has promised.
How many unions own corporate super account, big super? CBUS.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. CBUS, Rest, Host, Australian Super. So they're all really been struggling, and their member numbers are declining rapidly because people are moving to SMSF. So, this could be one of the reasons. They think, well, if we stop borrowing, if we stop them from borrowing to invest in property, maybe that will stop a lot of these people leaving corporate super and going to SMSF.
Does this have an effect on you spending your money on bullion?
No, it doesn't, because you can't borrow to buy bullion anyway. So I guess for our particular clients, I've had clients contact me and say, oh, what should I do? Should I rush out and buy property? And I'm like, borrow to buy property. Should I rush out and do it now before the changes? And we do have an arm of our business, not me personally anymore, but there is an arm of my business that still does SMSF borrowing, and they'll help you find investment properties. So they're all of a sudden getting smashed with clients wanting to rush in. But what I'd say to anyone out there listening, if you were planning to buy a property in your SMSF anyway, yes, okay, maybe you want to rush out and do it sooner than later. But don't think you need to rush out and buy a property just because these things are changing. My fundamental view on property at the moment is that we're in for a rocky ride with price declines over the next few years. So, don't rush out and do it unless you've got a reason for it.
Speaking of rocky declines, gold and silver has been up, been down, a little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit more down, a little bit up. Yeah. I've seen some, not that I'm any kind of a market gazer and no financial advice from me, but usually when you see the stock market crash, you see the strong things, gold, silver, the metals, people rush to that. It's a safe haven. But that didn't happen when the market crashed a few weeks ago. It's been the weirdest thing.
It is the weirdest thing. I've sort of given up trying to predict anything now, because whether it's all just manipulated, it's not rational what's happening in the markets. I mean, I still and always will hold the fundamental view that when everything crashes, gold and silver will be the one to escalate. So as I've always said over the last few years, you buy whenever you've got the spare money to buy. And if I had spare money to buy now, I'd definitely be buying. I think it's at a great price. Yeah.
I was speaking to somebody only a couple of hours ago, $88 an ounce at the moment. So they've laid down a couple of ounces today. I think that's a very, very solid investment. Go forth and
Yeah.
multiply as we would like it to be. One of the other scary things, and it truly is a scary thing, that is happening is government now. We know they've got eyes all over the place, but now they are forcibly enlisting the eyes of many people that we go to on a daily basis for trusted advice, trusted financial
Mm-hmm.
advice. What
Mm-hmm.
absolute bastardry has the Labor government, and how much notice were you given in the enforcement of this new mandate they've given businesses like yours?
Yeah, okay. So I'm just pulling up on my screen to tell you all of the businesses that are affected. And the costs. I've been analysing the costs of this, and it's absolutely just insane. So the businesses covered, the new businesses. So what we're talking about here is anti-money laundering legislation. It has been around for as long as I can remember. Systems called AUSTRAC have been around since I was in the tax department 30 years ago. So it's been around for a very long time, but it was designed to cover the really big institutions, the banks, the credit unions, the big institutions that have a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of staff to have all the systems to just make sure they identify their clients properly and try and look for money laundering and then report to the government if they see anything suspicious. So it's been around a long time, but from 1st of July this year, so in 7 days' time, they're bringing it in to accountants, lawyers, conveyancers, real estate agents, thousands and thousands and thousands of real estate agents, precious metal dealers, so jewelers, businesses dealing in high value, jewelers.
Cash converters be included in this, do you think?
Yeah, it would be, absolutely. And and so from the 1st of July, and so I'll just talk from my perspective as an accountant, but when I'm talking about all of those businesses. So as an accountant, basically, I now need to be like a bank. So if you come to me as a client, I need to treat you like a bank would and absolutely fully identify you, verify you, find out where all your assets came from, what your income is, if you've got a large sum of money, where that came from, basically know every single thing about your financial life. I have to do 6 different Google searches on you looking for fraud or bankruptcies or anything suspicious about you in your past. And if I detect anything, I need to report it to the tax department. So if I detect anything suspicious about you, my potential new client, I need to report it to the tax department. So if you come to me as an accountant, and I've been an accountant, as everyone knows, for 30 years, I've had so many clients come to me and say dodgy things. They might come to me, and I'll say this openly on a recorded video. They might come to me and say, oh, I want to become your client and I want to, deal all in cash and not pay tax and rip off the system. As an accountant, I've always said, well, look, I can't help you with that. I'll lose my license, etc. You probably have to find someone else or just don't tell me anything about that. If that same client says that to me now, I need to report them to the tax department, even though they're not my client yet. If you go to an accountant, so now my client induction, when I'd have a new appointment with clients, my client induction would be, what's your name? What's your email address? What's your phone number? And then talk to me, ask me whatever you want. Our client induction is now a 16-page form.
Wow.
And if that client decides not to answer my questions, I have to report them to the tax department. So if you come to me as a potential client, so for not answering my questions. So if you come to me as a potential client, go, oh, yeah, Cass, I'd like to talk to you about being a client. And I say, yeah, okay, fine, but I've got to ask you all these questions. And then during that, you say, no, no, sorry, I'm not interested. I don't want to answer these questions. That's too much. I have to report you to the tax department. You're not even my client yet. Yeah, your face looks like.
What level of oversight do they have? Oh, because because that person has already filled out 16 pages of information and left some of them blank, assuming they leave that information with you. You have to hand it to the government.
Yep. Yep. So everybody, and this is when you think about real estate agents. So now if you want to buy or sell a house, you also have to give all this detail to the real estate agents.
That's
And
an
the real estate
awful
agents
lot
need to
of
report
private
you.
information to be giving to some 19-year-old who's straight out of real estate school and off selling their first house at Noosa.
Yeah, and for anyone who knows real estate agent licensing, I got my license so many years ago, but I did it in a 5-hour course.
Wow.
So that's how professional real estate agents. For anyone out there that knows real estate, yes, they have tightened down on that. The courses are a lot harder to do now, but anyone can do it in about 6 months now. So yeah, anyone can be a real estate agent, and they're not known for their ethics and I mean, they are. I'm talking about my own profession here, but some of them are not known for their ethics and honesty and everything. They'll do anything to get a deal. They're salespeople. They're salespeople. That's all they are.
Yeah.
And they will now have to have all your private information. So if you're buying a house, where did the money come from? So,
Wow.
and if you look in any way dodgy or don't answer their questions, you get reported. So everybody needs to be aware of this. You can no longer just have a good old chat to an accountant or a good old chat to a real estate agent about things, or cash converters or the bullion dealers or anyone. And
so how does that?
The intrusion.
That basically means I can't walk into you and say, Cass, I've got an inheritance. What's the best way to keep that inheritance? I want to keep as much of it away from government's prying eyes and particularly the Labor Party's prying fingers at the moment. Can you help me? From that point on, you have to report me.
I would have to report you. Yes. Or if you came to me with $50,000 and I said, I'm required to ask you where that came from, and you say, I don't really want to disclose that, I need to report you. So it's utterly gobsmacking. So I don't know exactly how long notice they've given us because I've been ignoring it. But my business partners have realised that.
You've got an industry representation, don't you? Wouldn't your lawyers be like the industry lawyers be wanting to get a tooth into this?
Yeah, they absolutely are, because that's the next part of this whole thing is the costs involved in it. Like our firm in particular, Freedom Financial Solutions, it's costing us about $200,000 in systems and IT and staff time to get this up and running. And if we don't, it's an $18,000 a day fine for every day that we are not ready from 1st of July.
You will comply one way or the other.
Yes. So, and everybody just needs to be aware, you can no longer talk to accountants, real estate agents, anyone who handles money. You can, the moment you open your mouth, the moment you give them your name, anything further you say thereafter, they are required, whether they will or not, it's a different question, but they're required by the law to report you, and very, very heavy penalties if they don't. And the biggest issue around this all, other than the intrusion into people's private lives, is the cost on the businesses, because, okay, our firm is a reasonable size. We've just got to suck it up and do it. But imagine the little accountant down the road that's only turning over $300,000 a year. That's enough for him to live on. And now all of a sudden he's got to comply. The local real estate agent, the little, okay, LJ Hooker have probably known about it for a while and have got all their systems. But the little private real estate agent down the road that you like dealing with, you know, all these small businesses, I believe a lot of them I know at the moment are just ignoring it. But once they realise the consequences, they're going to have to do something. A lot of them, I believe, will close down or merge with a bigger firm. Like, it's just part of the wiping out small business, forcing everything into big conglomerates that report everything to the tax department, so that the digital system has every single piece of information on you.
I am absolutely staggered at that news. It essentially
Yes.
means that even seeking, I remember reading ads for people over the years, how best to minimize your tax. Walking into a tax agent and saying, how can I best minimize what I pay the government, will now land you on some list somewhere with the government thinking, oh, what are you trying to do? You don't want to pay, you don't want to pay. That
Yeah.
I am disgusted,
Yeah.
beyond disgusted.
Yeah.
And I
Beyond, because
seriously,
also, I mean, when you think about a lawyer, so, and I don't know exactly how this bit's going to work, but when you think about hiring a lawyer, if you go in and see a lawyer, and once you've engaged them and said, I want to be your client, once you've engaged that lawyer, if you tell them you've murdered someone, they are not allowed to tell
have a
anyone.
legal
Their job is
confidence. Yeah.
to defend you. And a lot of people, and I
Attorney-client
believe
privilege.
accountants should be covered by the same rules. And a lot of
I
people
agree.
think they are. And I've always treated myself in that regard. If somebody tells me something confidentially, like, I did this and it was bad and blah, 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 I'm not going to go and report them. I'll just say, hey, look, don't tell me those sort of things. But you should be able to. You should be able to go to your accountant or your lawyer and say whatever you want to say in confidence. These laws now apply to lawyers.
Well, you've got to think that they're going to
So,
stand up and fight that.
well, what I'm thinking is the good old legal professional privilege must still apply to things like, yeah, I've killed someone. You can't tell someone. But these laws might still apply to financial transactions. So if you say, yeah, I killed someone and I got paid $500,000 for it, that's AUSTRAC. I can't say that for sure, but the law applies to lawyers. So,
Not that I know a lot about contract killing, but I'm reasonably confident they don't do it through the banking system, the payments.
no.
I don't think it's electronically transferred.
No, but that's the
But
point. This isn't just the banking system, it's any transaction. So if it's a barter transaction, I killed this person in return for,
yeah,
I shouldn't talk
yeah.
about killing people, but barter systems, gold, transfer, any transaction, not just the banking. So, look,
And it's the
people need to be
breadth of
aware.
people now who are now being made responsible for it. So if it's costing you $18,000 a month not to comply and $200,000 to become
18,000
compliant,
a day.
yeah, sorry, yep, 18,000 a day, and 200 grand to get compliant to be able to just be able to fulfill what the government wants you to be able to do. I can't imagine what costs that's going to bring on, mum and dad businesses who, might jeweler shops, as you said, family businesses been run for years. All of a sudden now there's this new level of compliance that's got to be put forward. It's not
Yeah.
about selling the product all of a sudden. It's about before you can even broach selling a product, it's about the government, you laying yourself open to government inspection.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Cass.
And yeah, I'm gobsmacked. Like I just, my business partners have been implementing it all, but I'm just sitting background going, I don't want to do this. This is against every single thing I believe in. And
Me
also,
too.
I left the tax department, 21 years ago. I left the tax department. I don't want to work for the tax department. Why am I now working for the tax department? For free.
I was going to say
Actually,
for
not for
free.
free.
You're not
It's
getting any
costing us.
benefit out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually
you get to
costing us.
pay.
So I'm costing myself to work for the tax department now. Like I'm really pissed. Really pissed.
I can't.
Yeah.
God, I can't imagine how this will ever get through. Could it
It is
be a
through.
distraction for something?
It is through. It starts in 6 days.
How did this get through so quietly?
I don't know. Very good question. I guess because it's just, and this is the sort of thing we do. We've seen this so many times. They create a massive big drama. Maybe it happened while the hantavirus was coming in or something. They create a massive big drama, and then they just do a little thing over here. So this would have just been a tiny little change to legislation that goes, oh, by the way, anti-money laundering, let's change the definition of services and let's include these businesses. It would have been just such a subtle change that nobody would have paid any attention until now, when it's coming in and the ramifications of what's happening is coming to the front. And yeah,
Cats,
that's how I think we got it in.
let's just say this weekend, or no, the first weekend in July, you go off to some music festival somewhere and you're camped around the fire, and across the course of the evening, people are talking about ways that they want to minimize tax, or that they want to, maybe make a bit of money on the side and not pay tax at all. Are you under an obligation then to let the government know?
That's a good question. I'd say probably not at that stage, because they're not asking for my advice. They're not engaging me. We're just having a chat.
But that changes the moment they turn around and say, Cass, what do you think?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, once they want my opinion on it. But anyway, everyone can rest assured out there that you can have those chats with me.
Yes, I can't see you handing out. Yes, I'll answer your question just as soon as you fill out this 16 pages of information I need. And we'll be fine after that. Unbelievable, Cass. All right, look, I know you've got another appointment you've got to get off to. So thank you for spending the time that you have, and really appreciate it. As always, self-managed super funds, I feel, are the way to go. And everybody that I know that has joined it, a self-managed super fund, and been involved with you guys have had nothing but the highest of praise, and they wouldn't do anything different. Nobody has gone back to big super, let's put it that way. And there is a reason for that. And I really do think that these changes have been brought in to limit people from taking advantage of self-managed super funds, because they're taking the money out of big super, out of big unions, and there are some big deals with some big American super companies and investment companies that are expecting a lot of Australian super money to start pouring in from July 1st.
Yeah, I agree. And so to everyone out there, SMSF is still the way to go, because most of our clients at the moment are doing gold and silver anyway. So these changes, even though they're a shock, don't affect most of our clients, other than those that do want to buy property. If you do want to buy property, then maybe hurry up and get it done before these rules come in.
Yep, because if you do, it will still fall under the grandfathering rules. Is that right?
Yeah. Any contract entered into before these rules pass will still be okay.
Brilliant. All right. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much for taking some time with us today, Cass. All right, great.
All right.
Cass Smith from Freedom Financial Solutions. Of course, you can go and check them out online, freedomffs.com.au, and the webpage and the website there has all the information on it you would possibly need. That's it for tonight. A short but smart show. I think a very, very, very important one. You need to really be aware of what you're saying and who you are saying it to when it comes to your finances after July the 1st, folks. I'm in Adelaide this evening. In fact, I'm in Mannum this evening, and probably popped up in the chat if I know what I'm doing. And we'll be off to the big do happening up north of Adelaide in Wilmington tomorrow. Looking forward to doing the show from Wilmington and the Stony Park Bush Camp and Caravanning Facility, and checking out some of the RC and slot car gaming that's going to be taking place. All that and more coming up tomorrow night. From me at the Voice of Freedom, have yourself a good night and watch out for the dickheads on the road. Hooroo.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!